On the afternoon of the 26th of August, 2025, just before 4 p.m., Miami-Dade Sheriff's Dispatch received a critical 911 call from the area of 305 NW 72nd Avenue. The caller reported that shots had been fired and a woman had been injured. The situation was already volatile, but dispatchers quickly learned that the gunman was still active. The caller stated that a man was attempting to shoot a woman inside the apartment complex. That man would soon be identified as 50-year-old Javier Albriza Jara. Before deputies even reached the scene, neighbors had already witnessed Jara's erratic behavior. One neighbor began recording on a cell phone, capturing footage that showed Jara armed with a handgun and moving in a frantic and unstable manner. The video captured a particularly alarming moment when he suddenly dove headfirst through an apartment window. This act reflected the intensity and unpredictability of his behavior, revealing that he was acting without control or concern for the consequences. After entering the apartment through the broken window, Jara continued behaving aggressively. He confronted an occupant inside, then left and moved through the building. His movements were unpredictable, shifting from one level of the complex to another without any clear pattern. Eventually, he ran upward to his own apartment on the 4th floor, leaving the door open behind him. During this period, Jara fired multiple rounds in the building. One of those rounds struck a 46-year-old woman in the chest. Despite her injury, she managed to escape and find safety in a neighbor's 3rd-floor apartment. Her survival depended on acting quickly, as Jara's gunfire created a dangerous environment for anyone who crossed his path. When deputies arrived, they located the injured woman and immediately provided aid. Witnesses directed them toward Jara's 4th-floor apartment. Based on the information available, deputies knew they were dealing with an armed suspect who had already shot someone, fired multiple rounds inside the building, and displayed extreme, erratic behavior. Multiple deputies moved to the 4th floor, forming a careful approach toward the open doorway. From their position, they could see partially into the apartment. The atmosphere was tense and silent, the earlier gunfire echoing faintly through the building. At the doorway, Deputy #2 reached the front position and saw Jara inside. He was armed with a handgun, and he showed no signs of surrender. This marked the beginning of the confrontation that would define the remainder of the incident. As deputies gathered outside the open apartment door, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Deputy #2 observed Jara moving around inside the unit. Within reach on a table was a handgun. From the deputy's view, Jara reached toward the weapon and began manipulating it, appearing to adjust or load it. The body-worn camera footage later confirmed these movements, showing Jara focusing entirely on the firearm instead of responding to commands. Deputy #2 issued repeated instructions, attempting to gain compliance and prevent Jara from readying the weapon. But Jara ignored the commands and continued manipulating the handgun. His refusal to cooperate, combined with his attempt to prepare the firearm, created an immediate threat. Deputies prepared for the likelihood that Jara would attempt to fire again. Seconds later, the confrontation erupted into gunfire. An exchange of shots occurred between Jara and 3 deputies positioned in the hallway. The narrow corridor limited mobility and forced deputies to use whatever cover they could find. The gunfire created a chaotic and dangerous environment, with the close quarters amplifying the intensity of the encounter. After the exchange, Jara retreated deeper into the apartment, Deputies did not immediately advance inside. Entering a confined apartment where an armed suspect could be hiding behind furniture, walls, or doorways would have placed them at severe risk. Without ballistic shields or specialized tactical equipment, entry was unsafe. Instead, deputies repositioned outside the apartment, taking defensive stances and maintaining control over the hallway. They monitored the doorway, communicated updates, and ensured that Jara could not leave the apartment undetected. At the same time, they waited for the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office Special Response Team, which had the equipment and training necessary to safely clear the unit. Meanwhile, other deputies were assisting the injured 6-year-old woman. She had managed to reach a third-floor apartment after being shot. Deputies provided immediate medical care, stabilized her condition, and carried her downstairs to paramedics. She was transported to the hospital in stable condition. Additional witness statements emerged. The injured woman's father told investigators that Jara had earlier pointed a firearm at him and pulled the trigger, but the gun malfunctioned. This information reinforced how many people Jara had placed in immediate danger before deputies arrived. When the SRT team arrived, they conducted a tactical entry into the fourth-floor apartment. Inside, they located Jara on the floor. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue inspected him and pronounced him deceased. No deputies sustained injuries during the confrontation. With Jara deceased and the immediate threat eliminated, deputies shifted into the investigative phase. The apartment complex contained several locations tied to the incident. The broken apartment window Jara dove through, the areas where he fired rounds, the third-floor apartment where the victim fled, and the fourth-floor hallway where deputies engaged him. All these scenes required careful analysis to reconstruct the timeline. Investigators interviewed residents who witnessed various parts of the incident. The neighbor who recorded the cell phone footage provided valuable evidence documenting Jara's behavior before deputies arrived. The video showed him armed, erratic, and breaking through a window, details that confirmed the dangerous and unpredictable nature of his actions. Inside the fourth-floor apartment, investigators documented the handgun Jara had attempted to load, the table he retrieved it from, and the placement of fired rounds. Bullet impacts, casings, and damage inside the unit all helped determine how the gunfire exchange occurred. Bodycam footage from Deputy #2 captured critical moments, including Jara reaching for the handgun and refusing to comply. Medical personnel continued reporting on the condition of the woman who had been shot. Her survival was credited to her ability to flee quickly and the rapid medical response from deputies and paramedics. She remained stable and was later able to provide statements detailing her encounter with Jara. The victim's father also contributed to the investigation, confirming that Jara had attempted to shoot him, but was prevented only by a firearm malfunction. This added another layer to the pattern of violence that Jara had displayed throughout the incident. Investigators established the sequence. Jara fired shots, injured the woman, threatened her father, broke into an apartment, confronted occupants, dove through a window, moved through the complex, returned to his unit, attempted to load a handgun, and initiated a gunfight with deputies. Each step reflected escalating aggression. With all evidence collected, the final assessment concluded that deputies responded appropriately to an imminent and active threat. No deputies were injured, the victim survived, and the threat was contained within the apartment without additional casualties. The incident at 305 NW 72nd Avenue ended with the conclusion of a violent confrontation initiated entirely by Jara's actions, leaving behind a detailed investigation and a narrow escape for multiple residents